is the good life.
Brings us into AI music. Now, granted, I have not dug into this. And
I know nothing about AI music. I didn't even know it existed till you just told me now.
I have a musician friend who is really freaking amazing. His name is Chris Baggs. He makes music for all kinds of big productions, and I want to get his opinion, so I'm going to ask him to record his audio right here.
The folks at Eo7 Media have asked me if I will record a short video about AI and the music industry. So, one, I appreciate that. Two, I'm going to try really hard not to curse. So, fingers crossed there. And I actually had AI write me an intro to this video, and it was just terrible and ridiculous and doesn't sound like anything I would ever say. So I decided not to read that. It was super stiff and just ridiculous. And honestly, a little shady because it was kind of encouraging AI, and coming from AI seemed a little sketch. So we're not going to do that. But we are going to talk about it a little bit. So, first of all, I guess I will introduce myself because most of the people probably watching Eo7 Media's video that they're using this in have no clue who I am. So my name is Chris. I usually go under Chris Baggs Music. I write and release music under that. I co-write and produce for other artists. I do a lot of mixing, mastering, I do a lot of sync licensing. About a year ago, I did a heavy push where I had about 200 registrations, a bunch of placements for like Netflix, TBS, MTV, Oxygen. I think there was one on NBC, just a lot of random stuff. But the thing I do for all of that is I write, play, record, mix, master, produce all of that music. So from start to finish. So I think that's why they wanted my take on AI and how it goes into all that stuff. So I will start by saying, if you don't watch any of the stuff that I do or have never seen my face or heard my terrible nasally voice, I have opinions like everybody. I don't really subscribe to a right or wrong thing when it comes to music. It's an art, right? So like, I think there are certain things that are better, obviously, and ways to do things that I like. And there's probably certain things that like 90% of people that do it think is the right thing to do, but there's a 10%. And man, it's like whatever you want it to be. Like maybe you did something completely unconventional, but that was the point. So it's always hard to say right or wrong. So when it comes to this, I don't think it's really any different. There's so many uses for it. I mean, one of the things that I actually really like and that I've used in the past is how some of AI has changed like music production. There's a lot of great companies that make really good plugins. The first one that always comes to mind is Mastering the Mix. They're a small plugin company, but they do a ton of like audio analysis plugins. And those are fantastic, especially if you're learning and you're trying to understand like balance and frequencies of all the different aspects of a song, and you know how to get your song to sound like those songs that you like in similar genres. You can analyze the frequency range of an entire piece of music compared to something that you have done and see where some of the stuff differs in the frequency bands and everything. And it's just great. The output, the overall volume outputs and stuff, it's amazing. Like I said, it really does teach you if you're kind of learning production and mixing and mastering and everything. They're just great. Not just a clever name for the company. It truly is Mastering the Mix. So that was a shameless plug. I have nothing to do with the company, by the way. So for that stuff, I love it. Right. And let's face it, like there's so much stuff in making music today that's not actual, like being done, right? Like I do string arrangements. I don't play violin. I don't play cello. I play piano, guitar, bass, percussion, but I don't play any orchestral instruments. So I tried. It was terrible. I couldn't get the bow to work. Actually, I couldn't really rosin the bow all that well. It was weird. I don't know why I had such a hard time with it. That kind of stuff, and I know that's not really AI, but it's kind of the idea of doing things that you don't really know how to do. Yes, I'm still playing it, but it's not the real instrument. It doesn't really sound the same. They have really good ones, but they never really sound the same. And I could be robbing a violin player of a gig, right? Of a studio gig. When I think of one of the ways that can be used where it's actually creating a song. Now, if you're like a vocalist and a lyricist, in my opinion, like, I'm not even going to say in my opinion because this whole damn thing is in my opinion. Also, I'm going to try really hard not to curse. I'm going to try really hard. I heard if I do, I'm going to get bleeped out by a duck sound, a duck quacking, I presume. So I almost kind of want to do it just to hear that on the video. So we'll see what happens. When it comes to like, if you're like a lyricist or a vocalist, you just don't happen to play an instrument, but you understand music and you want help crafting the song, like, okay, I mean, is that any different than like a chord generator or a chord progression generator or whichever? So there's like a ton of gray area, at least that I see. What I don't like the idea of is a corporation being able to create from start to finish an entire song without enlisting the assistance of any musicians at all, because they could just saturate the industry with thousands and thousands of songs and see what hits. Like, right? Like they have the means to do that and distribute it. And they could, in theory, at least this is what I would do if I was in that area. Like, you could release thousands of songs, maybe 2 of them hit, and you go, okay, you know what? We're going to take these 2 songs and we're going to build more like it, and we're going to hire artists to perform them and basically form a band after the music was created, which has happened many a times, right? Like songwriters all the time have written songs and then put together pieces of bands, like, you know, from singing competitions, from just, you know, open calls, and then that band takes that music and performs it and people just associate it. But this is even weirder because like this would actually be out there with people playing it and vocal sounds and voices that people would have already consumed and enjoyed and become a fan of without really having human to associate with it until after, which I guess I don't think this has happened yet, but it's just something that I would think could happen. And I've heard a couple of people talking about it before, as possibilities somewhere in that realm. I can't remember who I was looking at, but so that is terrible. I just think that's terrible. But it's probably going to happen because that's what happens with this stuff, right? Like, it's not like anybody's objection to it is gonna change anything. So it's artists that still play and write their own music and stuff. You just differentiate yourself like anything else. You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I feel that way about anything artistic, right? I'm personally going to go and still have my album covers designed by artists that I use. I'm going to pay them and they're going to do it because personally it's just what I like, right? It's a unique piece of something. But there's going to be plenty of people that use image generating software to do all that stuff. And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just don't like it. I will be considered old school, maybe, that I think, you know, that art should be created by people. So, yeah, I mean, that's mainly it. Again, like learning tools, stuff like that. Like I said, I use AI at work a lot. You know, you're trying to, if you're working on code for something and, you know, you're trying to figure out some of the syntax to use or whatever, like you'd go and Google that stuff anyway and manipulate it for your own use. It's no different. It's great for like checking errors and stuff too. Like you paste it in there, it can just find it right away instead of, you know, me having to get my old man glasses and read through hundreds of lines of stuff and be like, I can't, you know. Anyway, so great uses. I do like to mess with it on occasion and ask it all sorts of funny questions. Obviously, I ask its opinion on, you know, Skynet, because how could you not, you know, it doesn't like it though, which is also kind of sketchy. It's like it almost knows. So, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I that's kind of my thing on it. Again, I don't think any of it matters because it's going to do what it's going to do. You know, it's going to happen. I think people just have to just kind of keep going. Oh, there is one thing I absolutely do not like. I do not like using it to recreate people's voices and do things that they've never done. I think that's weird. I can't even remember. I think I saw, maybe I saw one was John Lennon singing Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden. And I just thought that was just weird, kind of creepy, unnecessary, other than people getting, you know, and I realize the person I'm doing this for is probably making YouTube videos. But I really think that's just a way for people to, you know, get their clicks and their streams and their comments or whatever the hell people do. You know, I don't like that at all. But again, none of it matters. It's still going to happen. I guess another option is somebody doing, you know, it could cause a thing where, like, I talked about sync licensing for television and stuff before. Well, now you might end up getting, you know, companies and stuff and networks and stuff where they trim their budgets down by getting their own AI designed music. You know, most of that stuff is background anyway. It's below dialogue and in scenes, and you can't really hear it. You know, if it's not there, because then it's just like an awkward silence. But I mean, eventually, you know, it might end up being cheaper for them in the long run and easier to do that. I just don't know. Frankly, I'm just kind of ignoring it a little bit and just kind of going about the business. So, I will shut up now. I don't know if any of that is helpful, insightful. Again, I'm not like really anything special over here, but I'm going to go back to my normal stream now. So thanks to Eo7 Media for asking me to do this and even giving I almost cussed, about my opinion, even caring about my opinion. Thank you for that. I was about to talk about a rat's backside, but I'm going to on to the normal stream. Thanks, everybody. Now I'm going to say the word just so I can hear it later get bleeped out. So hopefully that actually happens. All right. Thanks.